There is a multi-billion-dollar industry built on one simple lie about your lawn. And the lie is not complicated. It does not require a conspiracy. It only requires that you never stop to ask a single question. Why does my grass keep needing more of what I already bought last season? But before we get to the lie, let me tell you about the moment that started all of this. A few years ago, a researcher studying agricultural land management in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, pulled over on a rural road because something looked wrong. Not wrong in a bad way, wrong in a way that made no sense given everything he thought he knew about grass and summer heat and drought. It was late July, the kind of afternoon where asphalt shimmers and most suburban lawns have already gone pale and brittle at the edges. And yet on one side of a simple wooden fence, the side belonging to an Amish family, the grass was a shade of green, so deep and saturated it looked almost digitally enhanced. On the other side of that same fence, a neighboring property with a quarterly lawn service, an irrigation system, and a garage full of product. Straw-colored, patchy, barely alive. Same sky, same soil type, same rainfall that week. He got out of the car. He walked to the fence line. And he stood there for a long time trying to understand what he was looking at. What he eventually found changed the way he thought about lawns entirely. And it starts with something sitting at the corner of an Amish barn that most people would walk past without a second glance. A wooden barrel, catching rain. This is not a story about going off the grid. It is something far more unsettling than that. It is the story of a system so simple, so aligned with the way water and soil and grass actually work, that once you understand it, the modern lawn care industry stops looking like a solution and starts looking like something else entirely. Let us start where the problem actually starts, not at the surface, underneath it. Most homeowners think about their lawn the way they think about paint on a wall, something to be applied, refreshed, and maintained from the outside in. The industry agrees with them enthusiastically. It sells surface solutions, sprays that green the blade temporarily, granules that force a nitrogen rush through the root system, weed killers that eliminate the competition without once asking why the competition arrived in the first place. And every season, you buy more. Because every season, the lawn needs more. And somehow, nobody finds that suspicious. But here is what nobody tells you. And this is the sentence that changes everything that comes after it. A dark, green, dense, weed-resistant lawn is not a surface condition. It is a soil condition. The color you are chasing is not in the grass. It is in the ground beneath it. It is biological, and you cannot buy it in a bag. Now here is where it gets genuinely alarming. There are published studies, peer-reviewed, replicated, quietly filed away in agricultural journals that the lawn care industry has little interest in amplifying, showing what synthetic nitrogen fertilizer actually does to soil biology over time. In a long-term trial comparing conventionally fertilized lawn plots against unfertilized, compost-managed plots, researchers found that after just 3 years of regular synthetic fertilizer application, the microbial biomass in the treated soil had declined by over 60% compared to the control group. 60% of the biological engine gone. And the grass above it? Still green, still looking fine to the homeowner standing at the edge of the driveway, still selling the product. But the system underneath had already started collapsing. That is not a flaw in the product. That is the product working exactly as the business model requires. Now let me show you Jacob. He is 63 years old. He has been farming the same land his grandfather cleared, and he tends a stretch of grass alongside his property that his neighbors, non-Amish, with all the products and services available to them, have privately admitted they cannot explain. On a morning in early August, a visitor watches Jacob do something that seems almost too small to matter. He crouches down at the edge of the lawn, pushes 2 fingers into the soil, pulls them out, and brings them to his nose. He smells them. He nods slightly. Then he stands, looks toward the rain barrels lined along the barn wall, and says, without particular drama, "Not yet, 2 more days. No moisture sensor, no app, no scheduled irrigation cycle, just his fingers and the knowledge that the soil, right now, still holds what the grass needs." 2 days later, He opens the valve on a gravity-fed system running from the barrels to a slow drip line along the lawn's edge. Not a spray, not a pressurized burst, a slow release, water moving at the pace the ground can actually absorb it. He lets it run for 40 minutes, then closes it. That is his entire watering routine for the week, and his grass is the darkest on the road. Here is why, and this is the moment in the story where everything snaps into focus. Rainwater is not the same thing as the water coming out of your garden hose. This is not philosophical, it is chemical. Municipal tap water in most cities contains chlorine, chloramines, and fluoride, compounds that are entirely necessary for safe drinking water, but that accumulate in the top layer of soil with every watering cycle and suppress microbial activity. Not instantly, not visibly, but consistently, season after season, until the biological community in your soil, the bacteria, the fungi, the living network that is supposed to be doing all the real nutritional work, has been quietly suffocated. Rainwater contains none of that. It is naturally slightly acidic, which is exactly what most lawn grasses prefer. It carries dissolved atmospheric nitrogen, free, bioavailable fertilizer that falls from the sky every time a storm passes. And because Jacob delivers it slowly, the ground absorbs it fully. None runs off, none evaporates from a wet surface in the afternoon heat. It sinks, but the depth is the real revelation. When you water a lawn shallowly every day, the standard advice, the default setting on most irrigation timers, you are training the root system to stay near the surface. Moisture is always available at 1 or 2 inches depth. There is no reason for the roots to go deeper. And so they do not. They stay shallow, exposed, vulnerable to heat, drought, and foot traffic. The lawn looks fine when conditions are ideal and collapses the moment they are not. Jacob waters once every 8 to 10 days. In between, the surface dries, the top inch, the second inch, dry, and the grass roots, following moisture, push downward. 3 inches, 4, 5, into the layer of soil that stays cool even in July, that retains water from 2 weeks ago, that supports a biological density that no shallow root system ever encounters. The first time that researcher stood at the fence line in Lancaster County and took a soil sample from each side, he described what happened next as one of the most unexpectedly emotional moments of his professional career. The suburban sample crumbled pale and dry into his palm, smelled faintly of nothing, and left almost no residue on his fingers. Jacob's soil was nearly black. It was moist and dense and broke apart in soft, living chunks. And the smell. He used the word alive, not metaphorically. It smelled biologically active in a way that healthy woodland soil smells. He knew, before any laboratory confirmed it, that he was holding 2 completely different substances despite being 20 feet apart. The lab results came back 3 weeks later. Jacob's soil contained microbial biomass levels consistent with old-growth meadow ecosystems. The neighboring lawn, serviced quarterly, fertilized twice yearly, watered on a schedule, tested at levels comparable to moderately degraded agricultural land. 20 feet apart, the same county, the same weather. The difference was the barrel and the time Jacob had given the system to become what it already knew how to be. Now, let us talk about the compost, because the rain barrel without the compost is only half the story, and the compost is what most people underestimate most dramatically. Every autumn, without ceremony, Jacob works a thin layer of finished compost into the surface of his lawn. An inch. Sometimes slightly less. Not synthetic amendment, not processed pellets from a bag. Finished compost from the farm's own cycle. Kitchen scraps, animal manure, autumn leaves, spent garden material. Organic matter that has completed its transformation and is ready to re-enter the soil as the richest possible biological input. Here is what that input actually does, stated plainly. Mycorrhizal fungi, the thread-like organisms that form networks around grass roots, use organic matter as their food source. When organic matter is abundant and microbial life is healthy, these fungi extend root systems by hundreds of times their physical reach. A grass plant in biologically active soil can access phosphorus, nitrogen, zinc, and trace minerals from a volume of ground that its physical roots could never touch. And the result of that access is a steady, uninterrupted flow of nutrients to the grass blade, not a spike and crash cycle, not a forced flush of color followed by depletion, but a continuous, self-regulating supply. That is what dark green actually is. It is not an aesthetic. It is a measurement. It is the visual evidence of a plant receiving what it needs consistently from a system that is functioning the way it was designed to. Now here is the number that should make you stop. The lawn care industry in the United States generates over $100 billion in annual revenue. $100 billion. That number does not exist if lawns take care of themselves. That number requires a very specific kind of customer, a homeowner whose lawn is always slightly failing, always slightly behind, always one season away from requiring the next product in the line. A self-sustaining lawn is not a market. A lawn that feeds itself is a threat to the model. That is not cynicism. That is arithmetic. And here is the question that follows from that arithmetic, the one that is hard to dismiss once you have seen the fence line. If a 63-year-old farmer with no chemistry degree, no irrigation system, and no annual lawn budget produces results that trained and equipped lawn services cannot match, what exactly are you paying for? You are paying to maintain a dependency that the previous payments created now. If you want to begin moving toward Jacob's system, the steps are genuinely, almost irritatingly simple. A barrel or any large container positioned under a roof downspout, finished compost, a thin layer twice a year, watering deeply and infrequently, longer soaks, more days between them. A gradual reduction in chemical application because the biology in your soil needs time to recover, and recovery cannot happen in the presence of the compounds that are suppressing it. The first season will not look like the final result. This is the part that requires the only thing the industry cannot sell you: patience. A recovering ecosystem builds complexity slowly. The fungal networks regrow. The root systems push downward. The soil darkens as organic matter accumulates. And then one July, in a dry week when every other lawn on the street is going pale, yours holds its color. Not because you added something, because you finally stopped removing something. There is a thought worth sitting with long after this video ends. Jacob does not think of his lawn as a project. He does not manage it. He does not optimize it. He tends it, meaning he pays attention to it, returns what he takes from it, and trusts a system that was functioning long before either of them existed. His relationship to the land is not one of control. It is one of obligation. The land gave him something. He gives it back. We live in an era that has become extraordinarily skilled at solving the symptoms of problems it has itself created. The lawn care industry does not exist because lawns are naturally difficult. It exists because the methods it sold made lawns genuinely difficult, and then stood ready with the next product for the problem it caused with the last one. But here is the thought that lingers, the one that goes past the lawn entirely. The ground beneath Jacob's grass has not been purchased, optimized, or serviced. It has been respected, and it responds to that respect in the only language it has: color, density, resilience, life. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, a homeowner with a garage full of product stands looking at grass that never quite gets to where it is supposed to be, and wonders if maybe he just needs to try a different brand. He will. It will not work, and next spring he will try again. The barrel is sitting at the corner of the barn. The rain is free. The soil already knows what to do. The only question is how long we will keep interrupting it. If that changed something for you, share it with someone still losing the fight against their own lawn. And drop in the comments, what did you stop doing that made your grass better? Those answers are more valuable than anything sold in a bag.